Welcome, I'm Sheri and I'm with Kaytee Hadley, and we're talking about functional medicine today. Kaytee has created this wonderful dessert, which I know all of you are going to love. And it's very, very simple to prepare. You don't need a stove or an oven or anything. And we're going to talk about mental health and emotional health and also physical health and how they're all tied in together, and how when she works with clients, she actually works with all three of these areas. So welcome, Kaytee.
Thank you so much, Sheri. So happy to be here today.
Yes, I'm so happy that you came. We're going to just show a little bit of prep for your dessert first, and then we're going to talk about how you found functional medicine and what your background is. So did you want to just prep and show us how to set up this beautiful recipe?
Yeah, so we're making a chia seed pudding parfait, and you're absolutely right, it can be a dessert. I'm not going to lie, I love it also for breakfast. We're not doing any added sugars or anything like that, so it's all fruit and natural organic foods.
So beautiful, look at the colors.
So we are going to start by combining a non-dairy milk with chia seeds, and that's going to be our base. We're going to let that sit for a few minutes and gelatinize. Now I'm using a soy milk because soy milk has a higher protein content, and that kind of balances out the dish nutritionally.
Mm-hmm. And I know people have been eating chia seeds. Some of you may not understand what chia seeds are or what the benefit of eating them is. So did you want to just share with us some of the health benefits of chia seeds?
Yeah, absolutely. So chia seeds have so many benefits. They are high in what we call omega-3 fatty acids. And these are fats that our body cannot produce, so we need to get them from food. Omega-3 fatty acids are really important for managing, decreasing inflammation in the body, also improving cognitive health or mental health. So that's one of the reasons, again, that I chose this recipe. They're also really high.
Chias.
Yes, exactly. They're also really high in fiber and protein, some of those essential nutrients for health. Mm-hmm. So now that our milk and our chia seeds are together, we're just going to mix them up.
Now this is a really fun thing to do, even if you want to just make a pudding.
Absolutely.
Right? Just
absolutely.
Soak them in non-dairy milk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can also add them to smoothies. You can top chia seeds on yogurt. That gelatinous texture is actually really good for gut health. It kind of helps to clean you out, in addition to the other benefits of fiber.
That's so nice. So we're going to let the chia seeds soak while we talk to Kaytee about her interesting background in functional medicine. So tell us a little bit about how you got started. What really interested you about the field?
So I actually didn't know what functional medicine was when I started getting into the field. So just to give you a little bit of a background, if we rewind a few years, when I was a child and going into my teenage years, I had a lot of health problems. I had anxiety and depression, I had insomnia, I had recurrent gut issues, infections, and no one really thought of these pieces as being connected somehow. And so when I was a teenager, I was put on medication for anxiety and depression. I was going to therapy. I was doing the things that you're supposed to do for mental health, and it just wasn't really totally working. And my therapist said to me one day, you know, nutrition actually plays a role in mental health. There's this book. And she recommended me this book, and it was called Depression Free for Life. And at this time, again, I had never heard of this. It wasn't really as kind of well known as it is now. And I picked up that book, and like, not to be too dramatic, but it literally changed my life. It really did. And so I really dove into nutrition and movement and looking at the underlying causes for some of the symptoms that I was having, and looking at, oh wow, there is more that I can do. I can look at my physical health and really connecting the mind and the body. And so from there, I entered into the fitness field. I became a personal trainer, and I kind of worked my way up through the ranks in the gym. And I realized that fitness isn't really the same as health. It's one piece of it.
Wow.
it's kind of how people often think of weight being, being thin is meaning you're healthy, and we know that that's not true. So, you'd come to the gym, and I was the weirdest personal trainer you would ever work with. I'd be like, how's your stress management? How are you sleeping? And I eventually got to the point where I realized that the walls of the gym were just too confining for this.
Nice metaphor.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So I decided to go back to school. So that time I had earned my undergraduate degree in psychology, was working as a personal trainer, decided to go back and get my master's degree. So I went to University of Southern California, earned my master's degree there, became a registered dietitian, and started studying functional medicine. And I realized that these concepts that I had been so interested in, these different lifestyle components that play a role in mental and physical health, that there was this whole field for it. Where the mind and the body and the emotional health and spiritual health, they're all one and the same. And so that has led me to where I am now.
Well, they always say in Chinese medicine, the gut is the brain. So they work side by side. So if you have a leaky gut or inflamed gut, then you're going to have spacey, unfocused brain.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I love that whole story about how you felt like the gym was too confining. Like there's more to health than just working out.
Exactly.
That was a huge insight. So when you do functional medicine, you say that you work with clients not just on their mental and emotional sort of, aspects. How do clients hear about you? How do they know about you, and how do they seek you out? And then how do you teach them, or what are the first steps you give to them for eating better?
Yeah, absolutely. So clients can find me in a variety of different ways. What I so strongly believe, again, in this integrated approach, and so I like to work with naturopathic doctors, therapists, other mental health providers who are also interested in giving clients all of the tools that they can to improve their overall health. And so that's one way that individuals can find me. And then things like this, networking, other media opportunities and things like that.
And what have you seen in terms of progress with your clients? In other words, how long do they see you before you start seeing improvements in their health and well-being?
That's a really good question. I would say that individuals usually see benefits pretty quickly. Within actually usually a couple of weeks, we start to see symptoms starting to decrease, both mentally and physically. But what's really key, and this is essentially the foundation of what I do, is we're not just doing symptom management. We are looking at creating long-term sustainable health and wellness. So we're not just putting you on a diet and say, do this for 30 days and then you're good to go. Instead, we're looking at your whole lifestyle, your nutrition, your movement, sleep, stress management, all these different pieces. And then we plug them into your life based on your health, your unique needs, and really truly your preferences. So that this just becomes the way that you live, and you're not doing this roller coaster of, feeling better and then feeling worse. But again, we've created sustainable wellness.
I love that so much. They say, Ben Franklin said, 28 days it takes to just form a new habit, just like brushing your teeth and using more chia seeds in your food and things like that. So people oftentimes get scared and, they go back to their couch potato lifestyle. So sometimes it's really hard to motivate them to know that they will succeed in doing it on a regular basis.
Yes, I work with a lot of individuals who, when we first meet, they say, I'm just too lazy, I really want to do it, but I'm too lazy. And I always disagree. I say, you're not lazy because you're here, you want it, you just don't have the tools and the know-how. And I know because I was there, and I've experienced that. And most of us, we need more support. We need the guidance. And sometimes we just need some hand-holding. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually the key to success.
Right. So tell us a little bit more about this pudding that you're going to put together after commercial break. We're going to blend the chia seeds?
So
during the break.
So we're going to blend the chia seeds and the soy milk with my chosen fruit today is blueberries. You can use a variety of different, whatever your preference is. You could use strawberries or mixed berries. I really like blueberries. They're full of antioxidants, which again support brain health. They're great for stress management in the body. And I actually used frozen blueberries today because I specifically wanted to make the point that frozen fruit and vegetables is a really, really great option because the nutrients in them they're not diminished. And so there's often this thought of, fresh fruit and vegetables, they can be so expensive, but actually frozen is a really great option. And I really like the consistency, the texture that it adds to this.
Especially when they're out of season, right?
Exactly, exactly. So we're gonna be adding the blueberries. We'll blend it up. And you can see in the meantime, this has become rather gelatinous.
This is like a chemical experiment. Kids would love this.
Yes, absolutely. So it's a bit thicker now. So
it's a unique food that I think many people aren't even aware of, right?
Yeah, absolutely. After we blend it, we're gonna pour it in the bowl. We're gonna top with a bit of non-dairy yogurt. So I chose almond milk yogurt today. And this is really high in healthy fats from the almonds, really nice creamy texture. We'll put that on top and top with all of our favorite fruits. I also brought some hemp seeds, some almond butter.
Oh, nice.
And there we have it.
Nice. It's almost like a smoothie, but in a dessert bowl.
Exactly, exactly.
So I know you sent in some photos, which we're going to show viewers, and talk a little bit more about functional medicine. Now, I know that there's certain parts of the country that allow you to practice more integrative medicine than other states. Some states, I know Pennsylvania is a little strict because we have the Quakers still in our history. How often, when you work on the East Coast, do you see more clients or more people sort of open to this lifestyle? Or are you finding that maybe out in California they're a little bit more open to eating this way and changing their diet?
Yeah, it really is a paradigm shift to go from thinking that mental health is strictly in the brain to realizing that mental health is connected to the rest of the body.
I love that.
I heard this quote once, and I wish I knew who to give it credit to, but I say it all the time. The brain is connected to the body by this thing called the neck, right? Like, who would have thought?
Not separate. Not separate at all.
And yes, it is more prevalent in many different parts of the country, right, rather than others. As a dietitian, I have the privilege to be able to practice anywhere in the country. Dietitians have to pass a national board exam. Some states, you have to apply for a license, but I really am able to practice everywhere. And in my own practice, that is what I do. I practice telehealth, virtual appointments.
Oh, that's awesome. We're going to take a commercial break. We're going to blend up the chia seeds, and when we come back, we're going to see it. Kaytee put together this beautiful dessert.
Great.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back. I'm Sheri Damaris with Macro Magic, and I'm with Kaytee Hadley. And we're talking about functional medicine, which is very interesting. Kaytee's been a very inspiring person. with many, many people approaching them about mental health issues as well as physical health issues, and working on improving their diet and their overall lifestyle. So we secretly blended up the blueberries with the chia seeds and the grain milk, and you're gonna put together this.
Yes, absolutely. So now that we are all blended and it's nice and smooth consistency, and again, you can see
It'd be beautiful in a parfait glass too.
and you can see again that it's thicker, it's a little bit gelatinous. And now we're just going to add the yogurt on top. Now you can do this multiple ways. You can actually, if you want to, blend it with, but I kind of like to put it on top and layer it. It adds an interesting.
So nice. You could swirl it with a
Yes.
knife too, right? This is so refreshing and so delicious.
I'm just going to give this a little
You are
mix here.
swirling it. Yes, it's beautiful.
All right. And next, we top with our favorite fruits. So I have peaches, strawberries, and blackberries, but again, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Also, if you like granola, again, if you're thinking about this as a breakfast.
Kids would love this, especially if they're addicted to sweets like ice cream and things like that. It's a really nice, smooth dessert that doesn't have any added sugar. Right?
Exactly, exactly. And that's one thing to keep in mind when you're looking for the non-dairy milk and the non-dairy yogurt. Just making sure that it's unsweetened, which means that you're going to get just the natural sweetness instead of added sugars.
I was so upset the other day looking for carbonated drinks. Everything has cane sugar in it. And they tell you right on the label, and they try to disguise those sugars in different words,
Yes.
whole, clear, clean sugar, or sucanut, or whatever. But usually I tell my school kids, if it's the first or second ingredient, run out of the store.
So now we're going to add some hemp seeds. So hemp seeds are similar to chia seeds in that they are high in those omega-3 fatty acids, like we talked about, fiber, but they are especially high also in plant protein. Again, I'm just going to sprinkle this
They're
around.
fun to put. It's almost like a cheesy flavor.
Yeah, they have a really, they're so diverse. You can make, plant-based cheeses from them, to your point. I think in this dish it almost takes on a bit of a nuttiness and a little soft crunch. And finally, I'm going to add a little bit of creamy almond butter.
Oh, wow. Beautiful colors. Beautiful.
And there we have it.
Oh, my gosh. I can't wait to try it. Anyway, so we were talking about clients, and you do them over the computer. You do meet with them. What is the first bit of information that you ask? Or say a new client comes to you.
Yeah. So before we even get started, I like to do a really in-depth, almost like an assessment, a questionnaire. And this isn't just for me, but it's also for them. Most people, we just don't have the opportunity to really think about our health and our lifestyle really in depth, let alone then discuss it. So we look at current health concerns, mental, physical, emotional. Again, looking at the person as a whole, not these separate parts. And then we think about their kind of timeline of their life and think about what has been some triggers of these symptoms and illnesses. What might be making it better or worse?
Stress or work or family issues. Yeah,
Absolutely.
oftentimes in macrobiotics when we work with clients, there's some underlying issue behind their illness.
Exactly.
Maybe a family issue or a death in the family or whatever. Stress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then we look at their lifestyle. Is nutrition helping or hurting, right? Is movement? What about sleep? Again, these different lifestyle pillars that are essential for health. And then from there, we kind of create a roadmap. We identify these areas that need some more support. And then we look at maybe underlying causes. What might be going on in the body that's contributing to? So like you mentioned, gut health. Beautiful example, so important. The brain and the gut are so innately connected. We'll also look at nutritional deficiencies, how that might be playing a role. And so between these different tests and looking at lifestyle, we can then kind of create this roadmap to get them from where they are to where they want to be in their health. And identifying that reason why it's so important to them is really essential to the process. Because most people will say, oh, I want to lose a little bit of weight, or I'd like a little bit more energy, but it's really so much more than that. It's wanting to be able to get down on the floor and play with their grandkids, or, just these different, health is really a tool that we use to live the life we want to live. And so that's another essential piece that we bring into that equation in the beginning.
That's so nice. And what happens when the person says, okay, I want to do this. I'm not a good cook. I'm not good in the kitchen. And I love potato chips. I can't give up my potato chips. What are some of the things that you say to encourage them along? Because I know some people are almost married to their favorite foods.
And that's such a good point, because food isn't just energy and nourishment. It's also culture. It's also comfort. It's also community. And it is so important to honor these different roles that food plays in our lives and understand that we don't have to just start cutting everything out. In fact, I usually start the opposite. I usually start encouraging people to add more nutrients to their plate, because most of us are deficient in so many different nutrients. And so by adding more food in, you're actually expanding the palate, and you're able to try different dishes, right? And incorporate food in these new ways. And healthy cooking doesn't have to be difficult. And I think that, this show is a beautiful example of that. By giving people tools and strategies and just a little bit of education, it can go a really long way.
I love that. And then also what I found when I worked with school kids was the more sugar they ate, the more their palates actually changed. So when I would bring in cookies or crackers or whatever made from barley malt, rice syrup, maple syrup, they would be like, oh, this isn't sweet enough. I know that changes over time, but how do you sort of crack the ice with getting them off that stuff and into something, like this beautiful dessert?
Trying things. I think that's really the first step. Some people like to go cold turkey when it comes to added sugar, nutrients that they know aren't so good for their health. But most people, that's not the approach we take. Most people, it's a more slow transition, because again, it's usually not sustainable to just cut everything out and expect to do that for the rest of your life. Because what happens when the holidays come and the birthday party, and maybe you go on vacation, and instead of falling off the wagon and feeling awful mentally and physically, we learn how to incorporate those foods in a way that makes sense for each person uniquely.
Yes, and also to sort of, I used to have my kids keep a reflective journal. So how was your mood yesterday after you ate the bag of M&Ms or the jar of Skittles? Like, did you feel good, or did you feel sort of low and depressed? So having, a lot of times people just feel they can put anything in their mouth and not feel or not be aware of how they're feeling, but to start connecting the dots.
Absolutely. And we have this innate understanding and knowledge of our bodies, but in the way that we are raised in today's society, we often lose touch with that. And by tapping in again to understanding how your nourishment, how your food impacts your body and your mind and how you feel, understanding how your movement impacts that, it really strengthens that connection. And instead of saying, I don't want the potato chips because I'm gonna feel guilty and that's a bad food, you can make that decision. I know they don't sit well with me. I know I'm not gonna feel so good afterwards. It's not something I wanna do today. And that's a very different approach versus I can't have it versus
I just don't want it.
I don't want it today.
Right? Very nice. So moving ahead, are you on the horizon doing any group programs or anything writing any manuals or any books or anything related to your practice right now?
Yeah. So as mentioned, I do the one-on-one private counseling, but in January I will be launching my group membership. So
Nice.
this is going to be more for individuals who they just want more of the tools and strategies and education around living a healthy lifestyle. What does, nourishing my body look like? How can I learn more tools to incorporate more, healthful foods into my life? What are some tools and strategies I can use to get better quality sleep, right? So these different aspects of lifestyle, education, kind of workshop style. That's what the group membership is going to be.
Speaking of sleep, what are some things that you recommend for people who can't sleep?
Sleep, honestly, for most people that I work with, that is one of, if not the first thing that we tackle.
Wow.
Because if you're not sleeping well, how are you supposed to function? How do you have the energy to prepare food? How do you have, and we know that, again, thinking about brain, mental health, cognition, we know that it's harder to make those decisions that we know are good for ourselves when we're tired, when we're sleep deprived. So we typically tackle some of the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, first, which is sleep hygiene. So thinking about creating a bedtime routine that tells our body and our mind to transition from daytime energy, movement, into relaxation, restoration, to fall asleep more easily, sleep more soundly. And in the bedroom, we look at light, sound, electronics. I think most people can relate to that.
Right now, right? Everybody sleeps with their computer and their cell phone, which is a really big no-no with the EMFs and just sleeping around a lot of electricity. Disturbs your sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. And having a bright phone right next to your face, or maybe watching TV before bed, that light tells our brain that it's time to wake up and it's time to move around. And so by turning down the lights, shutting off electronics before bed, that can help transition that sleep.
Beautiful. So tell us how people can get in touch with you, sign up for an appointment. I think I'm going to be the first one to call. And hear about, all these great things that you're doing, great support systems that you're providing for people. How can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so the best place to find me is KayteeHadley.com. And
Do you want to spell it out?
Yeah, so my first name is spelled Kaytee. So KayteeHadley.com, and all of my contact information is there. You can shoot me a message, you can call my office, and we can set up an appointment from there to really talk about your unique needs, what you're looking for, and see how I can support you.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to try this beautiful dessert.
We'll give it a little green touch on top.
That's gorgeous. And Katie, we hope to have you back again as you progress through all your work in the functional medicine field. And we hope you viewers go home and try this beautiful dessert as well. So thank you for being on our show. And I'm Sheri Damaris with Macro Magic, and we hope to see you next time on another episode. Bye-bye.